What is going on, everybody? This is Hold the Door DFS. I am back for NHL DFS puck drop. Mainly focused on Draftkings, but honestly, if you're just looking for some NHL content, this is great to listen to. It kind of will apply to everything in terms of like teams to target and those types of things. So if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, hit like. I greatly appreciate it. It helps out a ton. And we are just on our way to continuing to bring a ton of free content here for you guys. Soccer, NASCAR, PGA, you name it. MLB will be right around the corner, NBA every day. So a lot of great stuff at our channel. Be sure to check it all out and check out anything that we have listed below as well. And then about maybe 2-3 minutes in here, I'll drop a coupon code as well if you are looking for 15% off any of our DFS content here at Fantasy Sports Insight. So let's get into the slate. And tonight, I'm recording right now on Wednesday night before a lot of the Fantasy Labs does not have the projected totals and things like that. So I'm just going to kind of give you like how I would normally like break down a slate and just kind of like you're going to kind of like go with me, but I'll talk about my favorite plays as well. So I always start with the odds page here. Like I said, if I'm checking it before Fantasy Labs has it updated, Fantasy Labs has a free feature. It's called the Vegas Dashboard, which if you have not checked it out, is a great tool to use. Otherwise, you can use any odds site like Bovada, Draftkings, Sportsbook, Fanduel, and any of those, Pinnacle. The biggest thing that you're going to see here that I'm going to look for is obviously biggest money line favorites, and I'm also looking at the team totals or at the totals. So like, the Bruins are in a smash spot against Buffalo, who just fired their coach. They've been playing terrible defense all year. They can't score. Jack Eichel's out, blah, blah, et cetera, right? With going on with Buffalo. Great matchup for the Bruins. So that always makes you think line one, Boston, stack, especially in GPP. I would definitely go that route. Tampa Bay, minus 250. Okay, a little bit higher total, and they're at home. The problem with the Lightning right now is that Point and Stamkos are not playing on the same line. So if you want to stack them, you can, but Palat and Point have been a great stack and pairing. Firing someone like Killorn on the power play is also a great option as well. Hurricanes, minus 190. We have a lot of big favorites tomorrow or today if you're listening. Hurricanes minus 190, but the over-under is only 5.5. I think some Carolina pieces are fine. They just don't always correlate very well, and we just haven't seen the upside. They're too almost spread out in terms of their scoring. The Panthers have been just DFS gold all season, and Nashville's been terrible on the penalty kill. So Panthers minus 210 is a nice, and you see a 6.5 total. Dropping down just some other important ones. I think this 6.5 total for Edmonton, I could even see it hitting 10 tomorrow. I don't know. I just think there's going to be a ton of goals in that game, and Edmonton's at home. They're proving tonight that just because they're playing Calgary, I think McDavid, Draisaitl have combined at least 3 points already, and a lot of their guys are playing really well. And then you have Colorado at home, where people feel like McKinnon's kind of been like meh, but if you actually look, he's still putting up the shot volume. He's kind of gotten there late, a couple empty net goals, but you got to figure that in his Valley too, man. Like he's out there all the time, kind of like McDavid. Those empty net points do have a little bit of equity there. So Dallas Stars in a nice matchup with Detroit as well. And same with Pittsburgh Penguins. They've been hot. So this is a 10-game slate, okay? And almost over half of them start at 6 o'clock at the first lock. So let's get into the slate. Up top is going to be where a lot of people are going to gravitate to right away with McKinnon and McDavid. I think that the total likely inching closer to like 6.5, 7, would put me on McDavid over McKinnon, even though I think McKinnon has a slightly higher floor, but I think this is definitely a more difficult matchup against Minnesota, even at home. So I would definitely lean McDavid here. Bergeron would be somebody you would round out your stack with Pastrnak and possibly Marchand. So I like Bergeron at 7,900, especially in GPPs. I just don't know that I'll get to him in cash over McDavid. But Barkov is the other guy that I would say, like, in a vacuum, I just prefer over Bergeron in a phenomenal matchup. Has been one of the best players all season. And I think the price is actually still a little bit underpriced, but finally getting more respect than he's gotten all season, basically. So 7,500 for Sid. His form has been excellent. Typically, I don't like to pay up this high for him because I don't see the upside in him. But just listen to this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 games in a row, double-digit points. The problem is a lot of these double-digit points are like low teens. I want some potential with like what Barkov has put up the last 2 games, a combined 70 DK. Or McDavid, we know, has 25, 30-point upside as well. So Sid's fine. Prefer it more in GPP at that price tag. Aho, too expensive for me. Pavelski, doable, but I just don't, GPP, I would do a Dallas stack. Point at 6,500 has been playing really well, coming off a 26.8 fantasy point outing against, on the road actually against Dallas, but has been really good recently. And I think he just does so much damage on that power play. It's really hard to get away from him. Somebody that like keeps getting overlooked, Malkin's a game will likely, I think, be a game time decision. Maybe he doesn't play at all, and if he doesn't play, yeah, we're likely going to see some value like with Jared McCann or Teddy Bluger. So Nazem Kadri, like, just always gets overlooked, right? Because he's not on the top Colorado line, but he is on the top power play line. He has a combined 17 shots in his last 3 games. And yes, that seems like egregious, but he is a high volume shooter. Look, he's got a 6-shot game there, 7 here. If they get like 4 or 5 power plays in a game, he just sit in front of the net, just jamming at the puck. So I really like him at 6,300. Still, I think you might not get there in cash if you're paying up way up, but I think he's definitely viable. Nugent Hopkins having a nice game tonight. Scoot down here a little bit further. I don't like the Philadelphia on the road against the Islanders at all. Henrique at 4,700 feels a little bit overpriced now. Pajao, what has he been doing lately? Not squat. So pass on him. He was better earlier in the year when he was in good form. But Boone Jenner is always a decent, viable punt there. Mikael Granlund just hasn't been playing as well since he's moved to the center position, mainly due to when Johansson was out first and then Duchesne's out now. So that's really kind of hurt his value. I think Dubois is actually really in play here at 3,700. And then kind of see where like Dickinson could be in a top 6 role depending on injuries. Tyler Johnson, I think, is fine. Eric Stahl at 3,000. Just is going to be kind of forced into a bigger role than he normally is. Victor Rask as well is likely in a top 6 role. Oscar Lindblom is fine. So there's a lot of decent value in here. But I think you're going to probably start with McDavid or Barkov is probably where I'm going to be going. So winger position, Pastrnak. What didn't he have one game recently? 10 shots on goal. Yeah, 10 shots on goal. But just so good and so smooth with the puck. Not somebody that you're going to see like McDavid, where he just is like end to end rushing, but when he gets a puck just right over the midline, it doesn't take long for him to find a spot to shoot the puck. So Draisaitl 8,800. I was hoping he'd be cheaper here, honestly, but I know the correlation with McDavid is just like when they know that they're skating together, that's just going to happen. When they weren't skating together and Draisaitl's production wasn't as correlated to McDavid, we saw him closer to like 7K, 6,500. The production was down, but this price tag is insane. Mikko Rantanen been phenomenal. Has kind of like almost been better recently than McKinnon, honestly. But I still think I'd prefer McKinnon in a vacuum. Marchand would be a stack, but 8K for Marchand. Stack only. Kane on the road against Tampa Bay, no thanks. Stamkos 7K is probably too cheap for the matchup. And we know he's obviously an elite goal scorer. I just wish the shot on goal volume was higher. Like he's like always just sitting there waiting for the perfect moment, rather than he's not somebody that has the puck on his skate a lot. He's more the one that is just sitting there waiting like Ovechkin. Kaprizov at 6,600. Like, when I was looking through, at the beginning of the season, and obviously I'm a Wild fan. I watched the Wild. He's phenomenal. He's just helped the Wild had just an insane season. I think early on in the season, just being a rookie and, just more facilitating, but just the puck possession now he has and how aggressive he is and shooting the puck so much more. Look at this. In the last 4 games, he has a combined 24 shots on goal. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I truly think that he's just like turning into a superstar as we watch him go here. Palat, 6,400. I never thought I would ever be considering somebody like Palat at 6,400. But prior to the last 2 games, he's just been absolutely crushing it and doing really well with point and on the power play. So I can't like just tell you not to play him, but probably feels more GPP. I would prefer in cash to go to somebody like Hornquist, who has a really good shot floor. I already mentioned the matchup with Nashville, where they're just going to be able to shoot a lot of, get a lot of pucks on net. The last 2 games against Nashville, he's got a combined 6 shots on goal. So, the form is not as good as it was before, but you could, power play stack him and Barkov if you wanted. Raquel has been great, but 6,200, I think his price tag finally caught up to him. Uberdo, you could pair with Hornquist if you wanted. Ehlers, Connor's the one. Connor, 2 goals again tonight, 2 goals last night, insane form. I really, it's like he's too good of a scorer in these high event games. So I really like Kyle Connor at 5,700 a ton. Line pass. Mantha's been good form, but probably pass for me. Jamie Benn and just Dallas in general, you're going to get a pretty nice discount on a stack with them. Fiala, 5,300 is really cheap. Taylor Hall, not sure. Is he going to play after he took that puck to the mouth? Oh, he did come. Okay, he came back that game. That was nasty. If you didn't see Taylor Hall getting just basically a shot right to the face, that was brutal. Silverberg is always, I think, underpriced, but I think maybe 4,700 is probably right there where he should be. Duclair, you could pair with Barkov. Victor Arvidsson, 4,500. I think that's too cheap, honestly. He's way too good of a player, but the form for Nashville has just been so bad, and they've had so many injuries. It's really hard to trust him. Frank Petrano is always one of my favorite punts for Florida. Jason Robertson, though, if he's going to be skating in the top 6 role, I think you can definitely consider him. 4,300, again, a little bit overpriced. I prefer to pay for someone like that at like below 4K. Phil Kessel, 4,200. He's had a goal against the Wild. I was gonna say, I don't know if he's done much else, but besides the game I watched, and I was going against him in a showdown. But when you find those no badges in showdowns and they don't play any goalies, it usually works out in your favor. So I was able to overcome that goal with Talbot or Kakkonen. I don't remember who was in net that game. Voracek at 4,000 is too cheap, probably, but I don't love the matchup. Uvire, probably pronounced that wrong for all you NHL junkies, but 3,900. I think he's still in top 6 role, so he's decent. But people will probably go to like Bellows. Bailey's fine. Jordan Greenway, really like him. He's just seen a lot of ice time. Don't love the matchup, but I think he's viable punt. Paul Stastny, who I kind of overlooked today until one of the guys in the Discord kind of mentioned him. I don't know what he's doing tonight, but the fact that he's seen nearly 20 minutes of ice time, and honestly, he never used to be a shot generator. So I think he was more of just like a facilitator, but I think maybe moving to the wing has just like helped him, be able to shoot more, which is obviously makes sense. But Sharon Gavich, love him. Don't love the matchup, but the ice time is insane. The shot volume is insane. Love him. 3,500, one of my favorite values probably on the slate right now before I see line rushes and stuff tomorrow. Troy Terry is going to be in a top 6 role. Zach Parise is really cheap. Nick Foligno, top 6 role as well. Marchment has been decent up in the top line for them. For Florida, he's got some decent shot volume, just hasn't really like blown up yet, but I think he's fine if he's still in a top 6 role. Zegras, obviously we know is an elite talent. I think had an assist in the last game. Tolovin, I've been kind of like playing him a lot in showdowns because he's always too cheap. One of their top prospects as well, so I like him there. Let's see. Again, I'm gonna probably miss some guys tonight because this is just like first glance, but Evan Rodriguez, the gift that keeps giving is him getting on the score sheet recently since he's been elevated to a higher role. I think he's still skating with, I still think with Sid, but I'll have to double check. Brock McGinn, if he gets probably top role, he's fine. Chiasson would be the power play Correlation to Edmonton but on the fourth line and even strength. So Yankovic has been decent. So there's some viable values down here. Nishkinen, Wallstrom. So, but my favorite is probably Sharon Gavich, and then Craig Smith is fine too. So let's get to the defender position. Dougie Hamilton, 7,200. Is finally finding his form, I would say, a little bit more. 11 shots on goal last game. Seems like an outlier, but we'll take it. But you take that game out of the picture, more of this like an assist and 3-4 shots on goal, potentially a goal. He definitely loves to shoot from the blue line on the power play. So like him there. Hedman, is fine. Barrie and Nurse, per usual, always going to be in play for me. Ekblad in a really nice matchup. McAvoy, not as appealing when he's not on the top power play, but you still see the time on ice. But you just lose a lot of the like assist equity, and you lose like easy shot on goal equity. Like that's something that some people like kind of overlook. If Grzelcyk's going to be on the top power play line, when they're getting a lot of opportunities to shoot the puck, that's going to negatively affect somebody like McAvoy, who's coming in with like 30 seconds left on the power play, or they already scored, right? And then that time on ice is more as higher quality. So Taves and Girard have been phenomenal cash defensemen for Colorado. Brodin has been decent, but I think that's a little bit an overpriced. I think Grzelcyk is honestly overpriced too, even though he's on that top power play. The last game we saw a little bit increased ice time, but normally he's still really low on ice time. So I don't want to only pay for power play at 5K. I'd rather have a balance, which I think McAvoy has the other part, but just would prefer to have him on the top power play unit. Hornick has been like quietly phenomenal. He's going to play a ton for Detroit. Look at goals and 2 assists, 2 assists, but he's blocking shots. He's getting shots on goal. And a lot of this is happening on the power play. I don't love the matchup, obviously, at least he's at home. And I think Detroit at home has kind of like continued to surprise people and like being able to put up 3-4 goals. So the Ghost at 4,300 is viable. He's still in that top power play unit, even though they got absolutely dusted tonight, like 9-0 or something like that. Moving down here, Alexiak is somebody I always consider. Larson's fine. Dahlin, 3,700 is crazy, especially on first power play and first line pairing, but they've been just so bad. It's really hard to trust him. Forward at 3,400. I know he had at least an assist tonight, but somebody that could definitely hit that block bonus pretty easily. We do not have Hamonic on this slate that I would normally just like probably plug and play, like he has been a plug and play recently. Montour has decent shot block equity. Chris Russell does. Cody Ceci, Radko Gudas. Trying to think of some. Jake Bean, another assist I think in the last game. The problem with these guys, like he's fine, but I just struggle playing defensemen that are like 15 to 17 minutes of ice time. Like give me like 20 or 19, or like Hamona can be out there like 17 to 20, and he's so much more productive in that short amount of time. Then it just makes sense. So goalie, like me, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on goalie, but I think just kind of like at the eye test. Carter Hart, no, they just got dusted on the against this tonight. Buffalo at home, no. New Jersey at home, maybe they're going to see a ton of shot volume if you think they can squeak out a win. Otherwise, you're probably paying up, and you're probably paying up like Grubauer is going to have a pretty good win equity here. If Miska starts, no way do I want to touch him. I don't really like paying for Yari or DeSmith on the road. Excuse me. So I could see myself getting up to, and then like Dallas on the road too. They're probably going to see really low shot volume. So if it's not like one goal against and the win, then it could be really bad. Even if a win, he could score like 10 points or less. But I think. I think there's enough win equity in Halak, who I assume will start, or Vasilevsky. And with Vasil, like against Chicago, he's going to see some decent shot volume. So I think you can make the case for him there. Even Florida, Bobrovsky, he's not as good as he used to be, but at home against Nashville, who's pretty banged up, I think you can make a case for that. So thanks a lot, guys, for listening. core plays. If you're interested in getting into like some other things other than just classics, I've played quite a bit of classic this year, but it's really hard for me with my style actually to find as many head-to-heads that I usually play in the classic, just because it's like there's too many sharp players. But still can find a lot of like fish, swimming in like the 20 to $50 range. But tiers and showdown, man, there's so many like fish that are still posting in those, and I have core plays for all those in the channel. Feel free to reach out and ask any questions. Yeah, thanks a lot for listening, and I will see you guys later.